Hello, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to episode 293 of the Jays from the Couch radio podcast, brought to you by JaysFromTheCouch.com. Hello, Blue Jays fans. We've got a great episode for you this week. Thank you for tuning in for yet another week of Blue Jays talk. We here at Jays from the Couch, we deeply support your choices to support us. That's really what I meant to say. Yep, that's what you can come to expect in episode 293 of our podcast. But really, thank you for tuning in, whether it's on our live stream on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. We really appreciate that, and we love the interaction as well. And if you're listening after the fact on Apple, Google, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcasts, we thank you as well. We're everywhere, and you guys find us week after week, so we thank you so much. I'm your host, as always, Shaun Doyle. You can follow me on Twitter at JFtC, and I'm the founder of Jays from the Couch and your captain for this podcasting adventure. Some of you, lots of you, reach out every week with your comments and questions, and we really appreciate it, whether it's on our site, JaysFromTheCouch.com, after you've read an article, whether it's directly here on the podcast, or somewhere in between. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget that every week for our podcast or one of our other YouTube shows, you can send in your questions and comments on Twitter. You can hit us up at Jays from Couch, or you can send us an email even at info@jaysfromthecouch.com. Send us your questions and comments, and you too can be part of this show. And at this time, I'm going to bring in my special guests, my co-hosts, as always. First of all, batting second, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, host of the On Feck Circle Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. It's the Feckless Wonder himself, Steve Feck. And sir, I apologize because originally not from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, of course. But Steve, how are you?
I'm fine. Well, I'm a Pittsburgher. I've lived here more than half my life, and we know that's a lot of years. So I have the backdrop. I don't know whether I'm more excited about opening day for the Blue Jays or opening day for the Fantasy League. I'm going back and forth.
It could be either or. Now, I did not know that they called people who lived in Pittsburgh Pittsburghers. I was not aware of that. But there you go.
Well, more disparagingly, they're Yinzers or Jagoffs, but I prefer Pittsburghers. Right.
And no problem at all. I will call you a Pittsburgher with extra cheese. And joining us this week, host of the Sunny Side of the Dome show, Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Jays from the Couch channels, Karen Suter. Good evening, Karen.
Hi, Sean. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Karen.
And actually, now that we're here, we've got a comment here that actually will help us out settle this whole thing. But I want to take a second just to remind everybody of our ALS campaigns going on now. Of course, you can make a charitable tax-deductible donation at support.alsevents.ca/Jays from the Couch, or you can head over to our Redbubble shop and purchase some of our Jays from the Couch swag, and all 100% of the profits, every penny, go to the ALS Society of Canada. Make great gifts, and you can feel good about it. And we've got a great episode for you this week. Our MLB Minute segment will discuss changes to the alignment of Major League Baseball divisions, which of course will impact the Blue Jays and the AL East. We've got a couple more player projections to look at before we make a prediction for the 2022 season. And of course, we'll wrap up episode 293 with our ever popular fake news segment. So, with that said, and with that in mind, Steve, you're absolutely right. Our fantasy league did kick off, and we'll give everybody a little bit of an update there. But I wanted to bring in one of our viewers here watching on Facebook. Sarah says that apparently Pittsburghers are called Yinzers. What does that mean?
Well, rather than say you all or all of you, it's Yin's. Yin's gone downtown to get some pierogies and that. So that's where the Yinzer came from. Sarah being a backwoods woman living way up in rural Pennsylvania. I mean, it's probably more deliverencers than.
Oh, Sarah, he went there after you said good evening to us. Good evening, Sarah. Thank you for tuning in as well. Just so we're clear, not all the comments you hear on the Jays from the Couch podcast truly reflect the opinions of Jays from the Couch.
Especially coming from my mouth. Yes, that's very true.
We get that disclaimer in there.
We love all of our viewers and our listeners, even the American ones. So thank you so much. So Steve, we kicked off the inaugural Jays from the Couch Fantasy Baseball League draft. My son went first overall, and he came to me and he said, "So this is a lot of pressure, right? Having the first ever pick ever in our league." And so, who do I take? Who do I take? And I said, "Well, dude, if it were me, I know who I would be taking." And he was like, "Vlad?" I'm like, "Well, let's just say if you don't, you're kind of dumb." So, and he did, of course. And then he had a lot of fun. So, Steve,
Great.
I want to thank you for setting that up, because it was an experience that he and I got to share together. So thank you for that.
It was so much fun. We have a lot of our regular viewers that are out there. Matt Sweeby's in the league. Quite a few of our viewers. Rocket, I believe, is in the league. He's one of our regular commentators.
There's Rocket there.
Yep.
Good evening, Rocket. Glad you enjoyed the draft. Oh, and Christian Rao of the Rao Report watching on YouTube as well. He was going to take Vlad. I think he was messing with me, trying to say, pretend like he didn't know what he was doing. We'll see.
Liam had a great draft. He had a better draft than I did. That's for certain. But again, Vladdy in all of Yahoo leagues averaged around the third pick overall. But in the two live drafts I had after ours, Vladdy went number one in both of those leagues too. So Liam, cutting edge thinking.
Oh yeah, he's on it, and he's all over it, and he's loving it, and he's getting the notifications. People are adjusting their rosters, and he's like, "What is wrong with them? I love my team." I said, "Okay, buddy, ride that team right through to the week we face off against each other." Anyway, it was a lot of fun. But we should probably actually get into what it is we're actually here to talk about, and we'll kick things off here with our our Major League Baseball Minute, the MLB Minute. We're going to discuss the division alignments here. And Steve, I'm going to throw it off to you, because I feel like you will do a better job of explaining the actual suggested alignments than I would. So go ahead, Steve. All I know is it's a double-edged sword, but I'll get into that in my minute. But let's just go quickly through a rundown, Steve, of how things could look.
Okay. Well, again, the Blue Jays and the other 29 teams are going to play at least one series against all 29 teams. So you're going to lose 5 games within the division. That has consequences, potentially, in that really, if you have a win against a divisional opponent, it's really a 2-game swing, because you're picking up a game on a team in your division and they're dropping a game back behind you. But I think they're setting this up for divisional realignment across the board. Geographic divisional realignment. The players had proposed going back to two divisions rather than 3, which makes a lot more sense too, based on geography. I think we're going to see that, and probably going to see expansion coming up as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, Karen, what are your thoughts? We'll start off with you on this idea of playing fewer games against the division rivals, and the way the scheduling is set up. Instead of playing the Yankees 18 or 19 times, it's a lot less. You're playing more interleague games, and then of course the introduction of the or I guess I don't want reintroduction of the natural rivalries. So Karen, to start our Major League Baseball minute, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to grab my trusty timer here, and we're going to give you a minute, and just your thoughts on how this is going to go, starting now.
Yeah, I can't wait for this to happen next season. I am just over the moon. I mean, I've been saying for the longest time, 19 games per season against each one of your division rivals is way too much. And it really puts an unfair disadvantage on teams like the Blue Jays. I mean, how many years might they have made the playoffs if they didn't have to play 10 zillion games every regular season against the Yankees and Red Sox and blah, 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 blah. I mean, to me, this is definitely a step toward fairer, and I don't know if they'll ever get fairer than this, but fair enough. I mean, to me, 14 games against each division rival is more than enough. It's more than twice as much as they play against any other team, so 6 against every other team in the league that's not in the same division, and I absolutely love the fact that they're going to play against every interleague opponent at least once. Is my time up already? Oh my God.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, imagine if you're in like a National League, you're a fan of a National League Central team, and you only get to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. every 3 years. Like, now at least you get to see him every year, or any other player that you might really, really like. So
Agreed. And Steve, we'll go back to you for your 1 minute. Before we do that, Rocket likes the idea. Lets him be able to see the Jays here closer to him in the States at his closest local MLB team. And Karen, that's kind of what you're talking about, right? So Rocket's going to get an increased chance to see Vladdy and company. Steve, your 1 minute begins now.
Well, I could probably keep it to 10 seconds and say I hate this. The whole idea of having divisions and even separate leagues is that you compete against the teams in the league that you are in. Everything is cyclical. Yes, the Yankees and Red Sox are big, payroll teams, and it's so much tougher to compete against them. You become a championship team and become a better team by playing tougher competition. So actually going into the playoffs, you're actually in better shape. And like I had said earlier, a win over the Yankees, Red Sox, Rays, well, not Orioles because they'll never contend again, means a lot more because you're also putting a loss in the loss column and with teams you're directly competing against for a division title. And everybody's all happy now. Wait until the Yankees are playing the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox are playing the Pirates and the Blue Jays have to play the Dodgers or somebody, and everybody's going to complain, oh my God, it's not really fair.
Right. Okay. So my 1 minute will start, and I refer to it as a double-edged sword only because, and I think, Steve, this is kind of what you're getting at here, is that, sure, the Toronto Blue Jays may have an easier path in that they play the Yankees, Red Sox, and Rays fewer times, but that doesn't mean they get to play Baltimore more. But they will have, unfortunately, the advantage of playing some weaker teams in more of their schedule. The other side of that sword, though, is that so will the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Rays. They will also have that same opportunity as well. And so while it's great for Toronto to get to the postseason, the other teams have that as well. And I'm not sure that I agree that, a win means more. A win is a win, and you need 95 of them just to get a wild card berth in this division. So I think the more wins you can get, the better. That being said, though, I don't know if it's such an advantage or a disadvantage until it plays out. That's, yeah. Anyway, you never know. It could go both ways, like I said, but and then of course Christian might be the only person watching this show now or in the future who actually feels bad for the Orioles. There's Matt Sweeby watching on YouTube. When the Yankees are playing the Red Sox late in the season, one of them is guaranteed to win. Makes it harder to catch them if you're behind them both. 100% correct. And now that would be also be true regardless of how many times you played those teams. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, but if you're playing these teams more, you have a better chance at catching those other teams because you're going head to head. That's where that every win really is 2 wins theory comes into play, because you're knocking that team down a peg and you're picking up a win. So that's
True.
what my big issue is with it.
However, if you have to make up 3 games in your division, would you rather play those against the Rays or the Yankees or Pittsburgh or Kansas City, or you know what I mean, right? So
I'd rather play the Rays and the Yankees because you're controlling your own destiny. While you're off playing the Pirates or the Diamondbacks, you don't know what these other, you can't impact the other team's winning or losing because you're not playing them. If you're playing them more often, you are having a direct effect, and either you beat them or you don't. That is what competitive baseball is. We're not handing out participation trophies anymore. Okay? You either win or you don't.
Well, technically, the AL East right now is almost a participation division because 4 of the 5 teams are going to get in the postseason potentially, right? So, anyway, but let's move on now. The MLB Minute took about 10, but that's okay. We'll have to adjust maybe put a question mark in brackets after the word minute.
I could talk for a month about this. Seriously, I am so upset by this.
The guy who said I could take 10 seconds. Okay, but let's get into. We had started a few weeks ago looking at projections for some key individuals, and given that this is Keith said it right there. Keith Duncan watching on Facebook. It's not the Try League; it's the Get It Done League. Absolutely, that's 100% true. And who knows if you'd rather get it done. I guess the question is, against whom would you rather get it done? But we started before talking about some projections, and being that this is the last episode before opening day 2022, we thought we would cut the projections a little short and offer up a big kind of prediction for the 2022 season. So we got a couple of projections and then predictions. Enunciate is what I was going for there. So we're going to start. One pitcher, Jose Berrios. What I did, I went to Fangraphs and I looked at, they have like 6 different projections models. And I kind of tried to summarize and average it all out. But so these numbers aren't exact. They're kind of a ballpark-ish. But 190 innings, a full season. 3.85 ERA, 13 wins, 190 strikeouts for 3.2 wins above replacement. So, Steve, I'm going to start with you. Where are you on the Berrios projections? Are they generous? Are they conservative? Or are they way out to lunch?
I think they're dead on. I don't know how the staff ace pitches 190 innings and only gets 13 wins on a team that's everybody seems to be projecting going at least to the ALCS. I don't quite get that, but I mean, I think they nailed it pretty much right on the nose there. I mean, I'm not a big F WAR guy, I'm a B WAR guy. I'm a baseball reference WAR guy, but pitchers, he's going to have a much bigger impact on a team than just a 3.2 F WAR.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a fair statement. When you look at, given the other numbers and the impact that we feel Berrios should have, 3.2 wins above replacement doesn't seem very high. But Karen, let's get your thoughts here on Jose Berrios and the projections as laid out for you.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a really good season. Innings pitched, as much as I'd like to see him do that, I'm thinking his actual might be a little under that, just because to start the season, they might have pitchers on a shorter leash because of the shorter spring training and all of that. But I mean, he'll get his innings in. ERA is going to be lower than that. Wins are going to be higher. Strikeouts might be around that, and F4 will be at least 4.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. And Keith watching on Facebook, he says those are way off. And Christian Rao's watching as well, wins more like 16 games. And I don't disagree there. I think those are, and Keith says maybe 150 innings. It depends on the usage. And that's something that I think when you look at these projections, I don't know if all of those different projection models take into account how Charlie Montoyo and the front office will go about managing the workload. Now, for a guy like Jose Berrios, that's probably not such a big deal. When you look at somebody like Ryu, that potentially could be a big deal. Yeah. Maybe even Kikuchi, maybe even Alek Manoah, especially at the beginning of the season, right? So, like when you start thinking about it that way, and the usage, how, whether they go with, 2 times through the order and that's it, or whatever their quote unquote game plan is. So I personally, I think the 190 innings I think that's a solid estimation of the innings, because Berrios is a guy who's been healthy for most of his career, and that was one of the reasons why Toronto went after him. I think the ERA, like you, Karen, I think that's a bit high. 13 wins, I think, is low, particularly with this offense. And I think that, Steve, I'm with you. I think that F-WAR is also low. But and this is, Keith has a great point here. Pitching staff is stacked. They don't need to push them as hard as other years. That's an excellent point. One that could absolutely impact the potential numbers that Berrios puts up. We've also got a hitter here. I was going to. My guy, Matt Chapman. I have been... Yeah, you know what, Steve? I don't even care. I don't care. I have been pining after Matt Chapman. I've been staring out my window, listening to Taylor Swift and Adele, waiting for Matt Chapman to be traded to the Toronto Blue Jays. I love Matt written all over my doodle pad here. So I'm super excited, and I am definitely going to get Matt Chapman in here before the season starts. So go ahead, Karen.
Did you know about the trade before I tagged you on Twitter?
Oh man, that was so long ago. I don't think I did. Family and all of that stuff. I don't think I actually knew about it until you mentioned it. And Keith's watching. Keith says Matt Chapman is going to pop off this year, and I have to say I completely agree with Keith. If Matt Chapman's hip is fine, which it certainly has looked like, then I think we're going to have a special season for Matt Chapman. But 145 games, 32 home runs, 90 runs driven in, 110 weighted runs created plus, and 4 wins above replacement. Steve, I'm going to start with you, because I could gush and gush and gush about Matt Chapman, and then you guys would never get to talk. So go ahead, Steve. Where are you on the projections for Mr. Chapman?
I think he's going to play fewer games. I think that he's going to need some rest playing on the turf at Rogers. I think, having had a similar hip injury, playing on surfaces like that can really cause you to need to have a couple of days off.
Keith is thinking right along with you. The turf and the hip combination.
Yeah. I still see him hitting 30 homers. There's no such thing as weighted runs created plus. Okay, so I'm not going to even comment on that. Right. I'll go with the 4 F-WAR only because I think he's going to play fewer games. So that indirectly would impact what his F-WAR is. But it's a terrific pickup. I mean, there are very few better defensive third basemen than Matt Chapman in all of baseball. And in the American League, I don't think there is one. He's the best defensive third baseman in the American League.
Nope. One plays in St. Louis and the other plays in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
That's really all you've got. Anyway, Karen, over to you. The projections on Matt Chapman.
Right. Games, I was going to say 145 is probably about right, but Steve, maybe you have a good point there about the surgery and needing a little bit of rest. So I don't know. Home runs, I'm thinking the actual might even be a little bit more than that, maybe 35. And RBIs, yeah, maybe 90, 90 to 100. I think the WRC plus will be higher than that. And F4, like didn't he just have 3.5 F4 with only an average season with the bat because of his glove? Like if he does what we think he could, playing 81 games at the Rogers Center and in the middle of this absolutely stacked lineup, who if you don't pitch to Mac Chapman, who the heck do you pitch to? I'm putting him down for at least 4.5 there.
Yeah. Keith is watching at home, Steve, and he says Brian Kenny would like to have a word with you about one. The shredder is not happy. All right.
Okay. We'll keep it real simple, Keith. Nothing needs to be weighted. Nothing needs to be plussed. You either create runs or you don't. You either get on base or you don't. You don't need to weight it. It doesn't matter what happened in 1936 and when you're trying to compare and rank people. No such thing as weighted run. No such thing as weighted anything other than me.
I was going to say my scale would differ. Rocket says, "Let me 40 home runs. That special guy playing Rogers will make us realize Marcus Semien seemed like an afterthought." That's a bold statement, one that I actually kind of would agree with. I think, first of all, the move into the AL East is going to be huge for Matt Chapman. Even if Baltimore raises their wall in the outfield, it's not going to make a difference because he's coming from Oakland, where, you really got to hit one to hit a home run. So I think that's going to be. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see 40 home runs from Matt Chapman. And as far as the weighted runs created plus, if that hip is fine, I would see that could be a baseline. I could see him surpassing that, and his glove alone for this team is worth 4 wins. I'm not even gonna this has the potential of being an impactful move that could go under the radar because of how good the rest of this team is. But Matt Chapman to the Toronto Blue Jays is not a small move. So I'm just going to go out there and say that right now. So that brings us to, those are the 2 projections we wanted to get into, because at the end of the day, do they really matter? Obviously not. It's just a fun little exercise to get us excited because opening day is at the end of this week. And with that in mind, we each of us put our heads together by ourselves. Somehow it worked. I don't know. But we have each of us a prediction. A bold prediction, perhaps. Who knows? But a prediction for the 2022 season. And Steve, the Feckless Wonder, I'm going to start with you. What is your one bold prediction for this coming season?
The Blue Jays win the AL pennant, but will not have a single major award winner. Outside of Gold Gloves, they'll have no MVP, no Cy Young, no Rookie of the Year, no Manager of the Year, but they'll still win.
You had to throw that one in there, didn't you?
I was going to let it go, and I'm like, the whole weighted run created plus has got me between that and the division balanced schedule. I'm like barely hanging on here. So,
and it's all Charlie's fault.
Absolutely.
Okay. So win a division without a major award winner.
They're going to win the pennant.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it may be. I think that might be the first pennant winner ever that doesn't have a major award winner on it.
That will be very interesting. I'm not going to say I agree or disagree. Karen, your prediction.
In 2022, the Toronto Blue Jays will have 5 players selected to the All-Star game. While Teoscar Hernandez will continue to have a very good season, he will not be one of them because he will be surpassed by his teammate, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who will earn his first All-Star selection.
Wow. I did not see that coming. Wow, Karen. That is bold. So you said 5. So Lourdes, Gurriel, and who else?
Well, I didn't name the other 5. I mean, there's so many possibilities.
Mhm.
All I was saying really is that Gurriel will be one of them, and Hernandez, even though he will still have a good season, will not be. I mean, I hadn't gone so far as to name the other 4, but I mean, you choose between Guerrero, Bichette, a healthy George Springer, Matt Chapman, Jose Berrios, Kevin Gausman, Alec Manoah. I mean, the
Mm.
list goes on. Even Jordan Romano, if he stays healthy for a full season, they've got so many possibilities.
Danny
This is what
Jansen.
Danny
maybe
Jansen.
I like
Ooh.
Danny Jansen too. You and I agree about him. So
Danny Jansen, an all-star. That's bold as well.
he's one of the better two-way catchers in baseball already. So
If he can find a consistent bat, I wouldn't be surprised. Keith has some predictions of his own. Bold prediction: Alec Manoah wins 15 games, top 3 finish in Cy Young, and Nate Pearson wins Rookie of the Year after Kikuchi gets released. Whoa!
is Pearson even Rookie of the Year eligible? I didn't think he was.
It's fine, you guys, because it's going to go to Randy Rosarina anyway.
I was going to say, yeah, if Rosarena's still eligible, Nate Pearson's going to be eligible in 2028 probably. So
yeah, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Lots of time. Okay, so my bold prediction. First of all, I disagree with Steve's because I really do think Vlad's going to win the MVP, and I'm going to say that every year until he turns 35. So that's an easy one. One thing I will, so Rocket is like, I know it's not that bold, but Vladdy will break Bautista's home run club record. That's a good one. That is a very good one. And then, of course, Keith chiming back in that Nate Pearson would be eligible. But here's mine. I think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to win 100 games. And that's in the AL East. But I really believe 100 games is and you know what? I don't even think it'll be that crazy an idea. I think 100 games is well within their reach. Obviously, things have to go right. They've got to stay healthy. That's the first and foremost. And then they don't even need guys to have career years, really. If they just keep going the way they can go, I believe 100 games is in their future. And Christian Rao has a bold prediction. Gausman leads the team and wins as long as he keeps that beautiful flow. He's it's like Samson, right? You can't cut his hair. and then he'll be fine. So there you go. All right. So regardless, this is a fun kind of thing because they're going to be so good this year that you can kind of just say just about anything. Charlie Montoyo, Manager of the Year. How about that, Steve? Don't dismiss it. Don't dismiss it. I know you threw up in your mouth, but don't dismiss it because it can happen. That's how good this team is.
At least.
Yeah.
Why would he not be considered strongly?
He would have to be, right?
He is going to fall victim to there's so much talent anybody could have led him to it. I mean, there is that mindset for people to vote for Manager of the Year. And I really think that's why I was saying no Blue Jay is going to win a major award, because this team is going to be such a balanced team and so many people are going to do so many great things and have such great years. It's going to kind of get lost, in the shuffle, and somehow none of the major awards are going to go to one of the Blue Jays, but they go to the World Series, so I don't care.
Keith is going to go ahead and dismiss my Montoyo idea, and that's okay, Keith. I really kind of saying it to bug Steve because, but that being said, I don't think it's all that crazy to whatever. But we are just about out of time, and guess what? It's our fake news segment coming up. But before we get there, first of all, thank you to everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Steve and Karen, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Let everybody know how they can follow you and all the usual fun stuff. Steve, we'll start with you on Feck Circle tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time.
It's time for the second annual Feck U projections, where I basically now, rather than just working on the AL East, I'm looking at the entire American League. We're beyond looking at the AL East and the Jays. they are a pennant contender. So I'm going to take the 8 most likely playoff contenders, rank them by position, rank them by front office, by rotation, by bullpen, and come up with a FECU number and rank those players 1 through 8. Obviously, the first 6 will be the playoffs. There's going to be one giant, huge surprise. So make sure you take down my email, fecklesswonder@jasonthecouch.com, so you can send all of your disparaging comments ahead of time. Before you even hear it, trust me, it's going to be a shocker. So
He has the Baltimore Orioles winning the division. And Karen, let everybody know how they can follow you.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Karen Sutar1, just like it says there. And yes, I'm on Twitter quite a bit. I love to talk baseball or other reasonable things. Mutual respect is always important. And yes, sunny side of the dome on Thursday, and I'll be talking about something Blue Jays related. The season's about to start.
Yeah, opening days the next day. Yeah.
And I'm going.
And Karen's going. There you go. It could not be any better, right?
No.
All right. Well, on that note, sorry. It is now time. Jays from the Couch proudly presents Fake Blue Jays News. Karen, over to you.
The agent for the agent for All-Star first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been in touch with Ross Atkins, looking to add an addendum to his contract prior to opening day 2022. What Vlad and his agent are looking for is a bonus if the All-Star first baseman were to lead the American League in stolen bases. Vlad and his agent came up with the idea after Vlad stole a base in yesterday's exhibition game, after which he commented, "I feel faster." Though the deal has yet to be finalized, Ross Atkins was overheard commenting, "If he can get it done, he will have earned it."
Didn't Charlie say he could be a 30-30 guy? Oh, Charlie.
30, he's going to hit more than 30 home runs. Give me a break.
Well, I was more focused on the stealing 30 bases part.
Yeah,
right. I bet you he steals 20 because they're going to try to pitch around him, and Vladdy's going to make them pay for it. He's going to say, because I do feel faster, and he's a good base runner. He's aggressive. I can see him stealing 20 bases.
Oh, man. As Keith points out, George Springer called him Vladdy Henderson. I personally cannot wait. Anyway, Steve, over to you.
Thank you, Shaun. And I have a blank screen, so let me vamp for a little bit. Here we go. As we debated earlier, Major League Baseball has announced that a balanced schedule will be implemented for the 2023 season and beyond. Rather than emphasize divisional rivalries, the Blue Jays and all MLB clubs will play at least one series against every other 20 of the 29 teams, which would mean 5 less games against the Yanks, Red Sox, and Rays, and 5 less wins against the Orioles. As you can imagine, the revised schedule template was a hot topic during the CBA negotiations. Owners wanted teams to be able to choose who they played, like whether it be the O's or the Pirates or the Diamondbacks or the Nationals, thus optimizing win probabilities during pennant races. The Players Association, in an attempt to curb tanking, had proposed teams receiving revenue-sharing dollars would forfeit a percentage of such payments with each loss to teams with winning records outside their divisions. A compromise was reached when both sides agreed bobblehead nights and fireworks nights would be reserved for dates when sub-500 teams visited ballparks in order not to compromise gate revenues. Now, the Blue Jays steered clear of April Fool's pranks, instead stressing increased focus on their chances to win an American League pennant, but 2 minor pranks were pulled off by the front office and coaching staff. GM Ross Atkins visited with non-roster invitee Greg Bird and told him with a straight face that the Jays intended to add him to the 40-man roster. Meanwhile, manager Charlie Montoyo and pitching coach Pete Walker used Ryan Barucki and Anthony Castro in late-inning leverage situations on April 1st, patting them on the butt and telling them to go win themselves a job. And a quick programming note, in the spirit of the new balanced schedule, every week the Blue Jays have a winning record. You can enjoy new episodes of Sunny Side of the Dome Tuesday and Thursday nights on our YouTube channel, all to help you share in the good karma. When the Jays have a losing record that week, a doubleheader of the On Deck Circle will stream because misery loves company. And if there happens to be a push week, you'll be directed to a competing Blue Jay site since they use our material and ideas anyway. Over to you, Shaun.
Ooh,
I told you the schedule thing has me upset.
In another fake Blue Jays news, because last year's winner of the American League MVP could hit and pitch, the MVP race will now feature talent portions, as in like the Miss America competitions. To make it fair for everybody, players must submit their talent at the beginning of the year, and Jace from the Couch has learned some key entries already. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has submitted his paperwork to compete in the dugout dancing portion. Shohei Ohtani said, well, I'm not going to let him beat me. I'm going to win again, and I will enter myself and my talent. I will be able to tie a cherry stem in my mouth while pitching. Former Blue Jay Marcus Stroman threw his hat into the ring, and it said his talent was, quote, polarizing a fan base. And the 800-year-old Max Scherzer has entered his name into it, and his talent says changing eye color back and forth from one to the other. I don't think he understands how his eyes work, but that's a whole other issue. George Springer has entered the contest. That's right. His talent is the biggest and whitest smile will introduce to you his brushing regime. May or may not include charcoal. And lastly, just in case, former Blue Jay, Reese McGuire, has entered his name and will show everybody how to get around blocked websites. and that has been fake Blue Jays news.
Thank God you didn't say there was going to be a swimsuit competition, because I mean, some of those visualizations with Scherzer and McGuire, that was just very disturbing. So.
Well, Vladdy will finally be able to prove how much weight he's lost. Why do we do this? All right. Anyway, that brings us to the end of episode 293 of the Jays from the Couch podcast. And I want to thank everybody for watching. The comments and the questions today were fantastic. So thank you to everybody, to Matt, to Rocket, to Christian. And I know I'm forgetting people, and I apologize for that. Keith, thank you so much. And Sarah, thank you. Everybody, we really appreciate the participation. It makes the show so much better. So thank you. And if you're listening at home or catching this on the replay, consider tuning in live, and you can also join the show as well. I want to thank Karen and Steve for joining me for yet another episode, another week. And here we are. We're going to kick off another season, and I'm looking forward to chatting Blue Jays with both of you every week. So thank you both so much. We've got a couple more comments here. Rocket watching at home. It was a delight. We'll catch you later. Thank you, Rocket. And we got the old thumbs up from Keith Duncan on Facebook. So we appreciate it, Keith. Thank you so much. For Karen, for Steve, let me see, who else? For everybody here at Jays from the Couch on both sides of this screen, thank you so much. This is Shaun Doyle. You can follow me on Twitter at Doyle JFtC. Hoping life gives you a juicy fastball down the middle and you don't miss it. Take care, everybody.